There was a poem by Edgar A. Guest that I found in my family history book written by my grandmother. It's entitled Your Name. You got it from your father, 'twas the best he had to give, and right gladly he bestowed it, it's yours the while you live. You may lose the watch he gave you, and another you may claim, but remember when you're tempted to be careful with his name. It was spare the day you got it, and a worthy name to bear. When he took it from his father, there was no dishonor there. Through the years he proudly wore it, to his father he was true, and that name was clear and spotless when he passed it on to you. Oh, there's much that he has given that he values not at all. He has watched you break your playthings in the day when you were small. You have lost the knife he gave you, you've scattered many a game, but you'll never hurt your father if you're careful with his name. It's yours to wear forever, yours to wear the while you live, yours perhaps some distant morn another boy to give. And you'll smile as did your father, when a smile that all can share, if a clean name and a good name you are given him to wear. The year was 1929, and in a small room in a farmhouse just outside of Pleasant Grove, Utah, the first cry was heard from the new baby boy. Who would have known that this child would turn out to be such a great man? Today we are here to celebrate the life of the most important man in my life. Not only has he touched my life, but the lives of many others. Robert Eldridge Warnick was born July 10, 1929, to Merrill and Marina Warnick. He was the fourth child and second son of 7 children. Being the second to oldest boy on a dairy farm, Robert learned early how to work hard. His routine at the age of 6 was to wake up before dawn, milk cows, feed animals, and then to attend school, only to return home and start it all over again. Accomplishments for Robert began early. This is a picture of Robert with his prize-winning cow at the age of 9. Robert loved sports and was really quite athletic, but on the farm there was very little time to pursue such things. Both he and his older brother had to give up any thoughts of playing sports and extra activities. Robert's mother was a school teacher, and his father, because he had not been able to complete his high school degree, had instilled in his son the importance of schoolwork and wanted more than anything for Robert to graduate from high school and to continue on with his education. Robert was an excellent student, and he graduated with honor. As his older brother Eldridge took the place as the main farmhand, Robert promised his father he would complete his schooling to the best of his ability. Church and civic duties were also a very important part of the Warnick household. Robert was a scout, and at the age of 18, he was given a certificate for being the only child his age to have a perfect record of attendance to his church meeting. Robert began his graduate schooling at BYU, or his college schooling at BYU. He took a break from school to attend an LDS mission to Toronto, Canada. When he returned home later that same year in 1953, he married the love of his life, Carol Porter. The Korean War had just begun. Instead of waiting for the draft, he volunteered for the Air Force ROTC program so that he could continue to attend school while training to be an officer with the program. Though he was never put into active duty, he was sent to help rebuild Japan. He left his wife and 2 young children to be stationed in Okinawa, Japan for 14 months. Robert showed great leadership skills and quickly moved up the ranks in the Air Force. As his years of service with the Air Force continued, he spent many of those years stationed at several different bases across the United States. He completed his service, and his service had expired, and he was given the option to continue on with his career in the Air Force and be promoted to a lieutenant colonel, or he could take an honorable discharge. Robert had chose to continue on with his education as he had promised his father, and he moved back to Utah with his family. He graduated from BYU with his bachelor's degree in agriculture and then later graduated from Utah State with his master's. Between the years of 1954 and 1971, Robert and Carol had brought 6 children into this world: Robert, Deborah, Clark, John, Kelly, and myself. The year I was born, Robert published his dissertation for his PhD entitled Optimum, Optimum, Optimum Essential Amino Acids Level in a Starling Ration in Turkey. He received his doctorate in animal nutrition in 1972 from Utah State University. In 1975, he moved his family to Ephraim, Utah, where he began the Animal Extension Office for Utah State University at Smith College. This is where he continued his career until his retirement in 1990. Robert held many positions in his church, ranging from bishop to stake president, and later he served for several years as a temple worker. He and his wife Carol served the welfare mission in Cambodia, being the first missionaries called to that communist country. He served as the president of the Utah chapter of the Rotary Club. He helped with the 4-H program in Stampede for several years. He served 2 terms as mayor of Ephraim, the second being supported by both parties, and he ran uncontested. He was president of the Utah League of Cities and Towns, as well as raising a family and giving a home to 7 foreign exchange students and 5 other children that needed a home. I could list many of Robert's awards and accolades, but I believe that his biggest accomplishments were those that happened without getting a certificate. Robert is a man of honor. He has lived his life by honesty and service. He is a quiet man of very few words, but those words held great meaning. He was able to instill in his children the importance of family, and to us, his children, there is no greater man that walked this earth. Though we didn't have much money growing up, he always made us feel like we were the luckiest kids. He has such a great way of teaching us. One of my favorite memories is one of a present that we received on Easter morning. It was also a science lesson. He brought home an incubator from work along with several chicken eggs that he had timed perfectly to hatch on Easter morning. We watched in amazement as each egg hatched, dyed in bright colors of spring. He had injected each egg with food coloring so the soft fur of the chick would change to the color of the dye. I remember thinking how lucky we were to have the most unique present ever. None of my friends had ever seen a purple, green, blue, red, or pink chick before. He inspires us on a daily basis with his example, his kindness, and his unconditional love. My dad never yelled at us or demanded respect, but he was the kind of man that had earned the respect that he received. In closing, there has never been a speech that's been easier for me to give than the one to pay tribute to a man I love so dearly. I am truly proud to hold his name, and I hope that I can become even half the parent, leader, and example that Robert E. Warren is to me. Thank you.